Hello everybody, this is character creation stream number 1 of 5 for Power Rangers Let There Be Thunder. My name's Matthew, I am the GM for this game, and with me I have one of my 5 players.
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm playing Peter Parker. If you hadn't guessed by the ensemble, I will be the Green Ranger.
Fantastic. What we're going to do is do a step-by-step character creation for our first character, Peter Parker, the Green Ranger. And then we'll be doing the same thing on Thursdays and Tuesdays for the next couple of weeks before the game starts. So we have talked a little bit about what the characters are going to look like mechanically. We have an idea roughly of where we're going to be going with them. But what we want to do is just, as I said, step by step. So we'll have a look at Origins first. Do believe you have picked one, Michael?
I have indeed. Sorry, let me just find it on the character sheet. I do believe my Origins is Oddball, isn't it?
Oddball. Okay, let's have a look. So, with the Essence 20 system, there's nothing like race or species, so it's going to be a bit different to some systems that people are used to. What we do have, however, is something called the origin. With your origin, it gives you kind of an idea of who your character is, who your character sort of started off as. At the moment, we have athletic, brainy, comedic, curious, cynical, kind, oddball, popular, rebellious, and tragic. And as you can see here, we've got the oddball one opened up. And here it says, you aren't like anyone else. It's a bit of a, amusing comment. And does give us a few ideas of sort of what your character could be like. So you don't dress like the popular person, you don't listen to the top 40 music stations, you kind of do your thing. And we have the mechanics here as well. So starting health for the oddball is going to be 2 health, which is fantastic. Essence 20 is a low health, low damage system, so there won't be any health automatically being added as we level up. There's no rolling of dice for damage or health. You increase your health by taking points in the conditioning skill. So starting off with 2, which is the highest you can with the origins we have available at the moment at least, is a pretty good start. And I can see that
Awesome.
Michael has put 2 in his health, which is great. Then what we also have is when you take your origin, you get to increase a essence score by 1. So essence, as we can see here, is strength, speed, smarts, and social. With the oddball, you can pick any of those 4. Not all of them are the same. Some you can pick from 1 or 2, but oddball gives us this lovely choice of all 4. What were you thinking, Michael?
Hmm. I'm torn between strength and speed. I either want to put on might or driving.
Okay.
Uh,
So
I
we
think
haven't,
for now.
unfortunately, with the oddball, we're not going to be able to put the point into driving at this point. We've got the bonus skill levels here. So if you was to take speed, it would be infiltration you could put a D2 into.
Okay, we'll go for strength then and pop it in might.
Okay. So as you can see, with the strength base, we have a choice of intimidation or might. You get one of them, and what you do is you either take a specialization if you already possess the skill, if you've sort of gone through the character creation steps a bit differently. Otherwise, you add a D2 or you change your skill to a D2. So as we can see here, we've got might, and next to it we have a D2. where Michael has chosen D2 in might. Got a few other bits on here for oddball. So we have a ground movement speed of 30 feet, which again, no, he's not put in yet, but he's kind of already put a 30 foot in as a default. And we also have a few languages that we know. So that's going to be based on the total of our essence points in smarts, but you do begin with your native language. For the purposes of the game, we'll be going with English. I believe we're setting this in the in California, in Angel Grove. Unfortunately, there isn't anywhere at current on the sheet on Roll20 to put languages, but if we have a quick look, what we can do is put a perk for languages. So if you go ahead, Michael, and edit your perks so you can add one, just go ahead and add a languages perk there for us.
Language.
Fantastic. And then just in the description, pop down what language you currently speak, and we can come back to that once we know how many points of smarts you're going to possess.
Lovely.
Fantastic. So we've covered the essence, we've covered the skill level we're taking, the ground movement, the languages. The origin benefit for Oddball is nobody like me. You are truly unique, and this is shown by you being able to choose any perk you have the prerequisites for, which is pretty awesome. And I do believe Michael already has an idea of the perk he wants to take.
Yes, I do believe it is called Power Strike.
So what Michael wants to do is to take the Power Strike power, and we can do that by taking the extra grid power perk. So we can see
sorry, my
here.
mistake.
No, that's okay. There's a reason why I spent so much time reading the character creation steps of this book, and that's to be prepared for today. So what we do is, as you can see, is putting in the perk now, the description which we've got here, or I have here on the screen. Here, unfortunately, I don't know if he's got it open, but what I can do is just copy and paste it myself, just to make life a little bit easier for him.
Thank you.
And pop it in there. There we go. And we can see the extra grid power. And that also increases his maximum personal power by 1. And that will be determined by his spectrum, which is going to be green, as we've already discussed. And you can put the... I'm not sure if this... We've rolled 20. We're going to see whether or not this is going to let us drag it over from the compendium. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so yeah, it actually has let us drag the, unless Michael did it while I wasn't paying attention, it has let us actually put Power Strike by dragging it. Fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do next, after we've got our origin, is have a look at our Ranger spectrum. As Michael said, he's wearing a bit of green there. He's got a lovely green Ranger helmet. He's definitely playing the Pink Ranger, isn't that right?
No. Green all the way.
Fantastic. So here we go. We've got the Green Ranger Spectrum roll up here. So Essence 20 uses rolls. Each of them have a table from 1 to 20. Whether or not there's any plans to go past 20 is a mystery to me, at the very least. But when you take the first level, just like in practically any other game, you get a whole load of features. Here it's called role perks, and we can see that at first level, the Green Ranger gains its morphing time, solo strike, and unique weapon. So what we need to do is just pop into perks, which I'm going to have Michael do, is a perk that says it's morphing time.
Two seconds. Sorry, I'm just finding it in the compendium.
I'm not sure whether or not they've actually separated off the spectrum perks. We can have a quick look. No, they have not separated off the spectrum perks, but like before, we can sort of copy and paste it over. So if you just make a new perk in there for its morphing time on your character sheet.
2 seconds, sorry. There you are, it's in there.
Fantastic. And what I'll do is just before copy and paste it, because I'm nice and kind like that. And then if you make another one for solo strike, and while he's doing this, we'll just have a quick look at the rest of it. So every one of the spectrum rolls from black all the way up to white have its morphing time. They all have the Zord roll perk, although the White Ranger does get that at level 1, unlike the others who get it at level 3. But the other roll perks, except for extra attacks, general perks, which everybody gets at the levels stated, are kind of unique to the different spectrum rolls. So the unique one, the big one for the Green Ranger, or one of the big ones, is called Solo Strike, which is fantastic because it does give him some extra abilities to fight one-on-one by increasing the chance of rolling a nice high skill dice. And then last but not least, for the roll perks, we have the unique weapon. So we have this lovely table here. Michael has already put some thought into this, which is fantastic. What was your thoughts, Michael, on your unique weapon?
I was going for a versatile weapon.
Fantastic. The special ability?
The special ability, sorry, was going to be... Sorry, do bear with me a second. I'm just trying to find it on here. It was going to be versatile melee with gains upshift 2 when attacking targets at least 3 sizes larger.
Fantastic. And the item risk?
Item risk was going to be diff 12 performance skill check while possessing weapon to temporarily steal control of Zord.
Fantastic. So as you can see, we have this table here. You can roll on the table if you want to determine it randomly, or you can just pick one from each column. So Michael's picked versatile melee weapon from type of weapon and skill used. Special abilities also on the 3, but over here we've got difficulty 12 performance skill checks. So for me that's kind of fun, because it means that I can try and steal his weapon at some point, maybe with one of the threats they encounter, and then steal control of his Zord. You know,
Mad Dragon.
fun things can happen. But again, if you
They
just...
won't.
They will. But if you just want to make another perk in there for me, just for your unique weapon, and then you can just pop in what your special ability and your item risk are.
Am I putting that under perks?
Yep.
Lovely. Right. What is next?
Okay. So what we also need to do is just go back up a little bit and have a look at some of the other features you get from your Spectrum role. So as a Green Ranger, Peter Parker will regain 3 power points per day. So we've got a section on the character sheet for power regen up near the top, and we just need to pop that in there.
Right. So I get 3 personal power, yeah?
3 personal power and your power regen. So he would get 2 personal power at the start. However, because of his extra grid power perk, he does gain that 1 extra one, which is pretty awesome. We also have training in light and medium armor. So with its morphing time trait, when you morph, you gain a toughness bonus based on your armor training. For light, it's +1. For medium, it's +2. And what we can do is under toughness, which is underneath strength, you can see it says perks, armor and bonus, and we can just pop the 2 in the armor section. If you want to go ahead and do that for us, Michael.
No, turned it into 20.
That would be significantly harder to hit. Scarily so, in fact.
Would be lovely.
Fantastic. And we are also going to gain 2 points in strength.
So 2 points in strength.
And 1 point in speed. We do have skills already assigned to those. So for strength, we're going to have a D2 in might, which Peter Parker already has a D2 in, so that will increase that to a D4, or he can add a specialization.
I'll increase it to D4 at the moment.
Fantastic. And it will be another point or 1 point in conditioning.
One point in conditioning.
So
yep.
Just as a quick, this is kind of a Roll20 thing, unfortunately. Conditioning is showing up as a D2. It's not really accurate, because what conditioning does is you put a point in conditioning, you get an extra point of health. So what we can go ahead and do is change Peter Parker's health to 3 out of 3 now, please. And then we actually have a choice for our speed point, Michael. You can either take a D2 in finesse or a D2 in initiative.
I would take a D2 in initiative.
Fantastic, because when you're rolling any sort of skill check, including initiative, if you don't have at least a D2, you will roll with a snag. And what that means is you roll the dice, but you roll the D20 twice and take the lowest of the 2 rolls. So being slow straight off in the beginning of a fight, not the best of ideas for a Power Ranger. Okay, we've got some equipment on here we can go ahead and add a little bit later, because what we're just going to do is double check that we've got everything from the green spectrum roll, which I do believe we have at this point. We've got the strength and speed increase. We've got the skills added on there. Fantastic. Okay. What we're going to have a look at now is on top of the... I feel like we're missing a point in this. So the strength increase was 2 on top of the one you should have had for your origin. So the strength should be showing us 3.
Ah, my mistake.
That's
So I
okay.
get to add another point.
You don't get to add another point because you already have the skills assigned, because you took the D2 in might from your origin, the D4 from your spectrum roll, and then a D2 from conditioning. So that is the 3 points that you get from there.
Yep. My mistake. My mistake.
But what we can do now is you have 12 points to assign as you wish to any other essence. The book kind of recommends a split of 4, 3, 3, 2. And from experience, I would recommend not having a speed of less than 3. And the reason for that is you get 3 actions equal to your speed essence minus 2. So if your speed is only 2, you are going to have 0 free actions. Kind of important if you want to be able to draw your weapon, for example, that will take a free action, and you can give up an action to get some free actions, but then you're kind of limiting yourself in what you can and can't do. So with that in mind, how do you think you want to split your stats?
I'll put 3 in speed,
Okay.
in strength,
Okay.
4 in speed, 3 in smart, and 2 in social.
Fantastic. And now that we've got those assigned, we can actually take some more skills, because the sum total of the skills we have should equal the essence score those skills are under. So at the moment we've got strength 6, but we only have 3 ranks in strength skills. So that means Michael gets to pick 3 more skills, or skills he already has ranks in, to put 3 more points into. And then the same with speed, smarts and social. So where do you want to put
To
your 3?
avoid. So I get an additional 3 points in strength,
You
don't
do
I?
indeed.
What I'll do is I'll put a point each in athletics and intimidation,
Okay, so that's 1
and
more
then
point you get.
I will take a specialization in might.
Fantastic. What specialization are you going to take for might?
What would be the choices?
So we've got some examples. Some of the examples include things like power weapon. So if you're using a power weapon with might, you can use your specialization for that. And what specialization means is that if the specialization would apply, you roll every dice on the skill ladder below the one you're currently at. So at the moment, Peter Parker has a D4. For example, if he took power weapons as his specialization and was using his power weapon, his 2-handed versatile weapon, he would roll D4 and D2 and take the highest result amongst those rolls. Obviously, the higher you go, the more dice you're rolling, and what that does is gives you an increased chance of critting on the roll, but also an increased chance of getting a high roll to add to the D20 on your skill check. So,
Okay, we'll go with my power weapon.
okay. And what we'll say is that will apply to any power weapons that you can make a might check with. So it's not just a single power weapon, it's anything that is classified as a power weapon that you're using might for. We also have 4 points to put into speed. So something else that's quite important to know as the game begins is that when you're using your Zord, which will be from level 3 onwards for most Spectrum rolls, you'll be rolling driving in order to try and make any sort of attacks. So having a driving skill is pretty important. Just something to bear in mind.
And so I have 4 points to play with. Let's put a single point in you. We'll put 2 points into driving and then 1 point into finesse. So I put a point in acrobatics, 2 in driving, and 1 in finesse.
Okay, so just a bit of a conversation to have here, really. It's just something I'm looking at and sort of asking the question. At the moment, you're quite heavily invested in might. Most weapons are either going to be one or the other. Perhaps the D2 in finesse might be better off going into targeting, so you can use shooting weapons like the blade blaster to try and shoot at things instead of
Yep,
kind of splitting the
I would
points
agree.
you have got between might and finesse, and just a thought.
Yep, no problem. I will take your advice on that.
Okay. We've also got 3 points to put into smarts then.
Yeah. I'll put a point into alertness, and then
I have to say, if you've played any sort of tabletop role playing game, alertness, perception, spot, listen, search, always good skills to have. Not being snuck up on is pretty important. Being able to see what's coming is pretty useful. What else have you gone for?
um, I'll put a point in alertness, survival, and technology.
Fantastic. And last but not, well, I say not least, considering it is a 2, last but also least, social.
I will put a point into animal handling and a point into streetwise.
Fantastic. So, what we can see here on the sheet is your scores in toughness, evasion, willpower, and cleverness, which are your defences for those essence, are the sum total of 10 plus the points put into it, and any sort of perks or armour bonuses that you may get. At the moment, at the very least, Peter Parker has a 2 bonus from his armour, which will increase his toughness. But as you can see, his evasion is 15, his willpower is 13, and his social is 12. So he can take a hit, he can dodge a hit, but things that target his ability to sort of use his brain aren't so great. But that's okay. I'm sure that's not going
As you
to.
watch these, as you watch these streams, you'll find out that's something me and my character have much in common.
And I'm sure it's not going to come back and bite you at all.
No, never normally does.
So we've got Spectrum Roll, we've got Origin, we've covered the 12 extra points, and at the end, the essences should add up to 16, which we can see here they do. We've got 6, 5, 3, and 2. And again, the skills should match however many points you've got in the essence. So for strength, that's 6. We've got 1 for the D2, another 1 for the conditioning, which is 2, 1 for intimidation, which brings us to 3, and then we have the D4 and a specialization, which brings us to 6. The next step in the character creation for Peter Parker is influences. We're just going to open that one up now. So what we have so far is artisan, caretaker, community helper, martial artist, nomad, not from around here, small town roots, student, survivor, and teacher. You've got some notes there. What were you thinking for Peter?
I do. I was going for martial artist with its drawback, which is in social situations, he always tends to kind of show up a little bit,
Fantastic.
um, which gives me a snag, doesn't it, on roles involving social abilities?
So it's not so much that you have a snag as anybody rolling sort of to try and goad you with social abilities actually gains an edge. So they have more chance of succeeding. And Michael has brought up something that I did forget. When you with the influences, you can take a total of 3 at character creation. You don't have to take 3, but you can take a total of 3. With the first one, you gain the influence perk, you gain any sort of characteristics that you might want to pick, but you don't gain a hang up. With every one after the first, you do gain the hang ups. Kind of gives you a bit of an opportunity to have some roleplay elements built into the character already, some downsides to the mechanics, but they're pretty interesting to use as well. So we'll scroll down, all the way down, and we can see that Michael's already started putting in martial artist and student. So I think we can see the other option we're going with here as well. With the
Yeah,
martial
let me just
artist,
find.
we've got the influence perk here. So what that says is, given the opportunity to observe another martial artist for 1 minute, you can learn information about their capabilities compared to your own. So what that means is, I'll be able to tell Michael whether or not the person that he's watching is Peter's equal, superior, or inferior in threat level, as well as toughness and evasion defense. Which is kind of interesting because it could be that he sees something, maybe realizes that running might be an option, or at least punching something isn't necessarily going to do the job. We have the hang up, as we was going over earlier. You can't help but be a show off, and attempts to goad you into action with social abilities gain an edge against you. But we also have some suggested characteristics. So we've got some martial arts specialties here. And again, there's a lovely D20 table. So if you didn't have any idea what you wanted to do, you could roll, see what you get. But I think Michael probably has an idea of what he wants to go with.
I was going to go with mixed martial arts, but if it's okay with you to have quite a heavy like karate influence in that, just for narrative purposes.
Definitely. Definitely. And with your background bond, had you looked at all at what you wanted to do with that?
Sorry, let me just take a look quickly.
So again, this gives you a bit of an sort of another prompt for the role playing aspect of it. It gives you kind of an idea about what your character might do, if they've got any friends or teachers. So, like for example, option 4, my martial art. I'll try that again. My martial arts master occasionally sends students to me to mentor, which could be a cool scene, but also could be a reason why, you know, why does Peter Parker keep running off? And when he runs off, the Green Ranger appears.
Yes, we don't want people finding that out. I was going to go for 10. I must protect others because I have the strength and skill to do so, just because he's a bit of an oddball, so he knows what it's like to be bullied. So he always tries to stick up for everyone. But then as well, obviously, he's a Power Ranger, so he has been deemed worthy of the Power Coin, so that is something that makes him worthy of it.
Fantastic. So, as we can see on the sheet, we have a bond section that he can put that in.
Yep, no problem.
Again, unfortunately, some of the compendium options on Roll20 work, which is great. Not all of them do. So, unfortunately, there's a little bit of writing involved at the moment. Or copy and pasting.
It works.
It does indeed work. It saves some time. It's fantastic. As well as martial artist, Michael has chosen student. Do you want to talk us through some of your options on there?
Yeah, let me just jump on it. So I can't remember them off the top of my head. I took the hang up on the other skill, so I don't have one on this one. So I was going to go with popular culture. Again, to tie in narratively, Peter is a massive nerd when it's concerned with a certain subject. That I won't go into now. But yeah, so he kind of as well. He's obviously a big fan of regular pop culture, like films, music, and things. So he'll reference them quite frequently. Um, as for the Bond, I will go with three. I will take risks to learn new information.
Fantastic. So, although we've sort of gone about it the opposite way, um, we can see that Michael has chosen to have student as his first influence, which means he won't be taking a hang up for that one. But we'll just have a quick look at the influence perk and the hang up whilst Michael's typing in some bits. So, the influence perk for student is that your expertise in your study of choice gives you superior knowledge in one subject, allowing you to speak eloquently and thoroughly on the topic. You may choose from the list provided or decide on your own choice with your GM's approval. When attempting to recall facts or performing a task in relation to this subject, you gain an edge on your skill check. We've covered snag. Edge is the opposite. If you have edge on a skill check, you roll 2d20 as part of your skill check and you take the highest of the two. So having edge is definitely preferable to having snag. Being able to make a skill check is useful, especially as pretty much anything you're going to do sort of mechanically in the Essence 20 system is going to involve a skill check of some sort. If you want to punch something, that'd be a might or finesse skill check, for example. We're not taking the hang up, but the hang up for student is here as well. As Michael said, his subject is going to be popular culture. I have some idea of the popular culture he's going to be taking. Did you want to say that now, or is it something you want to wait for in game to mention?
I wasn't sure if it was something story wise you wanted to.
It's entirely up to you. Obviously, we'll cover it in story aspects, but whether or not you want to share it now to give an idea of sort of your character's influence, it's entirely up to you.
So as I said, he's a massive nerd in particular for the Power Rangers. He has studied them like constantly, wants to know everything he can to the point where I do believe I get a language, don't I?
So you will get a language because you have 3 points in smarts, so that will allow you to take a second language. Yes.
And the second language I was choosing was putty, which should make for some fun a bit later on down the line.
It should indeed. Um, I've heard Michael's putty voice. It's quite amusing, I will
Ooh.
tell you now. He definitely does it better than I do. Um, but fantastic. So have you put that in your... Are you putting that in your languages now?
Yep, let me just find the section for languages.
That's on your perks. It's the very top one, just for the record.
Language, English. Putty.
So just going back.
Out of curiosity, is putty spelled IE or with a Y?
It's spelt with a Y. Putty. And just stepping back to explain
Awesome.
why Peter is getting a second language. Under languages for oddball, for each 3 points of smarts you possess, you gain an extra language. So there is that. There is a few other ways of picking up some extra languages if it's something you want to do at some point. There's a perk called, I do believe it's called Educated. Now I've got, oh, I may have got that correct. Yep, so with Educated, you can gain fluency in one language of your choice, for example. There is, I also believe, and let me just see if I can find it on here, that if you take a rank in cultures, you may also gain an extra language. I may be going crazy. I may be making that up. I hope it's not, but let's just have a quick look and see. Skills and specializations. Scrolling all the way down because we want smarts-based skills. Here we go, cultures. So it's not for each point you put into cultures, but for each point you put into as a specialization. So you essentially would have ranks in cultures and take a language as a specialization. So you could have a D2 in cultures and a specialization in French, German, putty, whatever you wanted to do, really, just to be able to speak a few more languages. Maybe there's some monsters that might come up later that speak something else. Who knows? I mean, I know, but I'm not sharing that for now.
For now.
For now, but we do have, I think, almost all of the character sheet completed now. We have an idea of the name here. We've got origin, role, level, which is only one, unfortunately, at the moment. We have all of our ranks in skills. What we're going to do is we're going to hit this close button just here, and it just looks a little bit prettier as we're going through it. That was all. Got skills here. We've got our powers, our perks. We've got our, let's close those two. We have our hang-ups, our bonds, our influences. What we don't have so far is weapons. So let's just open this back up. With the Green Ranger, we know which unique weapon Peter is going to have because we've already gone through that on the table. But as you go through your character, it does kind of, the different spectrum roles do kind of lean into different weapons. We'll cover some more of that in some of the other character creations because the green one does have a fair bit of choice. But you will get your starting weapon. I have started making some stats up for the weapon in question. I do believe, I don't know if I have the notes on this computer. Let me just have a quick look, 1 second. Sorry, Michael.
No problem.
Oh, nope. Okay. I do not have the notes on this computer, so what I'll need to do is send those to Michael so he can put them in. But as you can see, we've got a weapon section here. You can put your weapon in, your skill for said weapon, what sort of style it is, whether or not it's melee, energy, explosive, projectile, the range, how many hands, what damage it does, any alternate effects, any traits, and then once you've got all that sorted out, Roll20 does allow you to just click on the weapon and it gives you a few options to choose, such as whether or not you've got a specialization in it, whether or not you've got any up skills, snags or edges, and then it'll roll the dice, compare it to the difficulty check that you put in, and it'll tell you whether or not you've succeeded, but also whether or not you've got a critical success, or if you've failed and have a fumble. We inventory. So the game in general is going to involve 18, 19 roughly year old characters, most of which are going to be attending the UCAG, which is the University of California Angel Grove campus. So in terms of inventory, laptops and things like that, I can assume being a few options. Is there anything you think that Peter might be sort of won't leave home without?
His phone. He'll always have his phone. I'd say, um, hmm, not off the top of my head that I could think of. Maybe just me thinking for story purposes, like I don't know, bandages or something, like a med kit or something. Um, but why a normal teenager would be running around with that, I don't know. But then again, he's not normal. So
He is an oddball. Maybe he does, just like, throw a first aid kit in his backpack just in case. Especially if
one of
he's
those kids that walks around with it. gallon of hand sanitizer.
Skateboarding accidents or cycling accidents or something, maybe. He's got some ranks in driving, so driving doesn't necessarily just mean cars, by the way. Let's just open that back up. We're going to cheat here by clicking on finesse because that is a speed skill. So driving covers the ability to operate any number of motor vehicles. Without a specialization, it represents a general concept of how to adapt one's physical footprint to that of a moving vehicle. So we've got boats, hovercraft, motorcycles, submersibles, tracked or wheeled vehicles, winged vehicles, and last but certainly not least in this case, Zords. How excited are you to...
I'm gonna get my dragon. I'm gonna get my dragon.
I would say pretty excited is the answer to that question then, yeah?
Indeed,
Fantastic.
very excited. I want my dragon.
Well, as I said, what I'll be doing is sending Michael some very sensitive mouse, unfortunately, and I keep tapping on it by accident. What we could do very quickly is add the Blade Blaster, because that will give you a weapon you can put in. And
Yeah, cool.
let's see if I just search the compendium for Blade Blaster, see whether or not that's going to come up nice and easily. It is going to come up nice and easy. Okay, so here's an
Okay, do I know
interesting
how?
question. Do we think if we drag the Blade Blaster over, it's going to add it to your sheet? What do you reckon?
We can hope and pray with our fingers crossed.
We can hope and pray with our fingers crossed. Ready?
I'm crossed.
We are crossed for no reason because it definitely. Oh, I say that. Let me just close
It
that just in case. Oh,
doesn't look like it worked on my end.
let me just double check and make sure it doesn't. Nope, it definitely didn't. So let's go ahead then and add the Blade Blaster in as a weapon.
What one are we doing first? Are we doing melee or blaster?
Well, that's entirely up to you. I've got the stats for both here for us. Pick.
We'll do ranged first.
Fantastic. So the skill required for using a ranged weapon is generally going to be targeting. It definitely is for the Blade Blaster. The
Yep.
size, we should have sidearm. We do indeed have sidearm as an option. So just go ahead and pick that. Style is going to be energy. If it has that in there, it does indeed. Range, we are going to have 40 foot as the normal range, and then 75 foot as the maximum. So if we just do 40 and then a forward slash and 75, and if you're shooting outside of the normal range, there's going to be some penalties to that. Hands is 1. Effect is, we're using range. Effect is energy 1. So what it means is with a successful shot of the Blade Blaster in ranged mode, it will do 1 energy damage to whatever it hits. We'll skip alternate effects, and the reason we're going to do that is because unfortunately you can't pick more than one skill, and while the Blade Blaster can be used either as a sword or as a pistol, essentially, that means 2 different skills for the skill checks, and the Roll20 sheet doesn't let us pick that, so we're going to add it in as a separate thing. It does have the silent and energy trait. Might have to double check that and just see whether or not the shooting version should be silent. But it does at the moment say sharp, silent and energy. Sharp is going to be for the blade form. We want to go ahead and close that one and create a new weapon for the melee version.
Yep. Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Just have a look and see if anybody's
There we go.
seen. Okay, so with the Blade Blaster and Melee, the skill in question is going to be Might.
Yep.
It is still a
Sidearms
sidearm.
again.
Yep. Style is Melee. Range is Reach. What that means is, with the Blade Blaster in Melee form, Peter can hit something within reach. For a common sized Power Ranger, that is going to be essentially 5 foot. So anything 5 foot around him, he'll be able to hit. It is one hand.
Lovely.
And it is sharp 1. And with the
Lovely. And
traits,
it's just
we will have
sharp.
sharp and silent.
Lovely.
Fantastic. So what we can just do is I'm going to fantastic. So we've gone through Origin, we've gone through Spectrum Roll, we've put in our 12 points into our essence and then our skills, and we've covered the influences. We've also added some weapons, as you can see. We do need to go back and adjust that Dragon Dagger before the game starts in a couple of weeks. And Michael does need to have a bit of a think about any items he might think his Green Ranger may have on him, just as a general course. We don't need to put anything in armour, because its Morphin Time shell will add the toughness bonus when you press this lovely It's Morphin Time button up here. Do you want to go ahead and do that now for us, Michael?
Bush.
Fantastic. So another thing, Roll20 is working on adding colours. So once you press the It's Morphin Time, it will change colour just to give you a sort of cosmetic thing. But as we can see, the toughness here now is shown as 18. So we've added that 2 toughness on there. Peter is now morphed and morphed again, and can do his things one way or the other. Is there anything you think we've missed?
No, not that I can think of.
Fantastic. Anything you want to
Probably
share
covered.
about Peter?
For now, we'll leave it a mystery.
Brilliant.
Other than what we've already let people know, and then they can discover the character throughout the game.
Fantastic. We'll go ahead and leave it at that then. We have the next character creation stream on Thursday. Same time, same place. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. If I can't, maybe one of my lovely players will be able to do so while I'm talking. Yeah, I hope everybody has a fantastic week. I will see some people in 2 days. I just have to very quickly. Brian Steele, Blade Blasters, maybe last year. I did consider replacing them with something else, but we've already done a few changes. It's going to be interesting to see what people think of the aesthetic choices the Rangers have made. And it's lovely to see that you've made it, even if it is unfortunately to the end of the stream. But Brian Steele is one of the big names behind the system, done some fantastic work, and also puts up with us asking loads of questions on the Renegade Game Studios Discord, Monday to Friday. I do feel sorry for him sometimes because we can ask the same question a few times over and over again where we forget the questions we've asked before. But he's always very patient with us. As I said, guys, have a good week. Look after yourselves, and I will see you all on Thursday. Thanks very much, Michael.
You're very welcome.
Bye all.
Pleasure to be here. Can't wait to get started. See you later.